Greetings, dear queers. Today, we are on the Fisherman finale, the part 5 of I Know What You Did Last Summer. This time, it's the TV series, an 8-episode long show that came out in 2021, which did not span out whatsoever. It got canceled after season 1. You see, this series attempts to restart the whole timeline. This isn't like I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, where it pretends to be connected to the previous things. Nope. This is a new place with new characters and new everything. It tries to combine aspects of the original book, the movies, as well as the 2006 movie for some godforsaken reason. And it is definitely something new compared to the rest of the movies, that's for sure. See, in this show, we have 6 main characters instead of the typical 4 or 5, like in the I Know What You Did Last Summer 97, as well as its direct sequel and the 2025 movie, of course, which has 5 people. See, in this, our characters consist of 2 twin sisters. Allison, who's very stuck up, but also depressed because she has no friends and she believes only her dead mother likes her. And Lennon, a party girl with a serious drug problem. After that, we meet her kinda girlfriend, Margot, who is a typical YouTuber type personality with all of her Instagrams and Twitters, because she clearly cares, and so does her mother, way too much about being famous and popular online. And that really makes up her entire character. Ugh. Then we see the friends of Lennon and Margot. There's Johnny, who's gay. And that's all we need to know about him. That's the first and only thing we learn about Johnny. Then there's Riley, who's a drug dealer. And she kind of takes a back seat to most of the characters. And then there's Dylan, who is so virtuous and tries to be so heroic, it comes across really annoying, honestly. I mean, you're a teen drama horror genre. That's what this wants to be. And one of the characters is like, yes, we make him so goddamn virtuous and heroic that he just can't stand by and do anything questionable whatsoever. And it's like, isn't the series about keeping secrets? Oh, but his worst secret is that he blames someone else about a fart in 5th grade. That's how fucking virtuous he is. It's clear they wanted to make a Ray/Milo type, but it's just Christ. It seems like Dylan's trying to become Captain America or something. I mean, holy cow, guy, take a step back. Damn. But don't worry, something happens very quickly, because we open up to our first episode. And I gotta say, this one I was curious about. The first episode of any series cements what the rest of the show is going to be like. That's how it works. No holds barred for the first episode and the last episode of any series. So, when we see one of these sisters, calling herself Lennon, coming back from a trip, I think, to university. They don't really talk about her trip too much, but it's fine. We see her alone, coming back to her father, and we see pictures strewn about the house of her and her twin sister, Allison. What got me excited for this show, though, was the fact that when she got to her closet and opened it up, there was blood all over the floor immediately, and a goat's head hanging, and one simple message drawn on her mirror: I know what you did last summer. And that got me excited. I'm like, hell yeah, this is how you intro. This is what you gotta do. That's great. And then most of the first episode is just a flashback of all of the friends that I've talked about going to this night party and getting absolutely blitzed. they get fucked hard in any way that you can imagine. Especially with the help of Riley's drugs and Lennon's absolute horniness. This first episode establishes right away what everyone's character is and how they're going to be throughout most of the show.
Come on, Allison,
Up to a point where when Allison arrives to this party with her father, she clearly doesn't want to be there because she's a loner who has no friends. She says as much herself. And it gets worse from there. All of the characters are fucking around in this big old party, getting high, getting drunk, doing whatever the hell they're doing, and the parents are being incredibly irresponsible. But it's not like they care. What's it matter? And it gets so bad that Allison and Lennon get into this argument about their friends, about their mother. And Lennon goes full asshole. I mean, everyone is an asshole in this, to be honest. Everyone has asshole moments, and it kind of brings it down a little bit. And they're not assholes in the same way like the 2006 movie, where they're immediately unlikable and rather hated because, you know, they fucking murdered their friend, like in the 2006 movie, but no. See, this one goes a different route.
People over and you want
After
me to be
Lennon
like that, so
and
that
Allison
like
get in an argument, and Lennon says, not even your mother, their dead mother, loved you, and Allison storms off, and so does Lennon, and you find out throughout the show what happened more and more throughout that night. And you find out that Allison, ironically enough, stayed at the party, but instead hid in Lennon's car to cry to herself after the argument. And after the party pretty much wraps up, all of Lennon's friends go into the truck and mistake Allison as Lennon, and they drive off. See, the father ends up driving Lennon home, but those two get in an argument, and he drops Lennon off on the side of a highway to go walk and cool off. As Allison and Lennon's friends are driving, what ends up happening is they accidentally run over Lennon and kill her. Boom. Now, I actually like this change, right? See, in the 97 movie, it was a stranger they didn't know, right? It turned out to be Ben Willis, and he's a psycho. And in I'll Always Know, it was their friend, but it was done in such a horrible, tasteless way, you just hated the entire cast. In the 2025 movie, it was a friend of a friend. And in the book, it was also a stranger, but the difference being there was that it was a child they ran over, and that was the secret they were keeping. In this show, it's like I'll Always Know, where it's a friend, but it's similar to the 97 movie where they run her over by accident. Or at least, it looks like an accident. See, as you discover more throughout the night, there are hints that Allison, who keep in mind was kind of pretending accidentally to be Lennon, she sped up the car while the actual Lennon, who was in the road, ran toward it and willingly got herself ran over. It's implied that Lennon wanted to off herself and Allison was kind of jealous of her. Well, actually, she was jealous of her flat out. But Allison might have wanted to actually hurt or kill Lennon. Because you see this in a dream that Allison is having later in the show. So it's kind of a whole thing. And the reason Lennon's even in the road is because of their father who dropped her off. So there's a lot more layers here than it's a simple hit and run, like in the book in the 97 movie. There's a lot more context and nuance, and I do actually like that. I just wish the show did better. And how? See, after the necessary 1-year time skip as all of these things have. Allison, who has now transformed into Lennon, which physically that's not hard considering they're identical twins, she has taken over Lennon's life entirely and as well taken Lennon's friends. So, as the show goes on, Allison, or Lennon, which I'll be referring to her as the rest of this video goes on, Lennon connects more to her friends that she stole from her sister. Which I know this sounds really fucked up. And it's like, why won't she just tell the friends? Well, that's actually because of the father. See, when Allison broke down after that night, she told her father, and her father's like, no, they think you're Lennon, they're not going to back you up, they will throw you in jail, so you have to pretend to be Lennon. That's legit what he says. It's like, wow, that is some iffy shit, man, but okay, I guess. And from then on, Allison has turned into Lennon. So, after her and all of her friends meet up in the second episode, we get to learn more about what happened to their lives, which actually it didn't change too much, to be honest. Not most of them, at least. Riley's still a drug dealer who didn't learn anything. Margot is still an influencer who didn't learn anything, but she did go to rehab, and she did start a mukbanging thing where she obsessively ate for a very long time, and it was a problem because, well, mukbangs are just fucking gross. I do not like mukbangs at all. They're so disgusting. It's just eating, and it's so messy, and there's so much food, and you're wasting like 90% of it, and there's the sauce and the shit, and it's like, oh, God. That is too much food, man. Way too much food. Oh. But the thing with Margot is that this mukbang that she tried to pass off as a mukbang actually kind of became an eating disorder, but she, videoed it live while she ate so she could still get profit off of it in some way. So, yeah, Margot went through some serious issues. And then there's Johnny, who's, don't worry, he's still gay, and that's it, he doesn't change much at all. And then there's Dylan, who seems to have disappeared, but in truth, he moved off to live on a farm and raise goats. That's it, he just didn't want anything to do with anybody. Which again, of course, mirrors Ray from the first movie, who went to do his own thing and he didn't want to deal with anybody. And most of the show really plays out like that. It's a teen drama, but it's not really an interesting teen drama. It's like, oh yes, oh we have our love triangles and we have our secrets, and it's like, yeah, but you're not really that good. And don't get me wrong, I love teen dramas. I love going on the CW channel. I loved Stargirl and The 100, and I saw the Scream TV series, which this show also takes a lot of obvious inspiration from. I have seen Dead of Summer. I have seen all of these different dramas. I love teen dramas, especially when another genre is mixed in, like mystery, horror, or sci-fi. I love it. But this one is just so generic, honestly. Like, the characters are fine in and of themselves, honestly. But the story is like everything else I've seen before. It's nothing special. Like I said, I mentioned Dead of Summer. That acts like a teen young adult drama with a slasher. And as far as I remember, which I don't remember the show very well, mind you, it did better mixing both genres. Where this is a teen drama first, and a mystery slasher kind of like third? Not really second, but kind of third. It doesn't really mix them together, it kind of places them separately. Which is not really what you want to do in a show like this. Then you throw in a cult and some honey magic and... Oh, but I'll get to that. Oh boy. See, sure enough, one of them has to die, right? Because this show is only 8 episodes long, we kind of have to get to this fast. And we kill the gay guy. Hell yeah. There goes Johnny. Poor Johnny. I don't give a shit about Johnny. Yeah, I don't know. Oh no, it's Johnny. You know Johnny? I don't. He's the gay guy. That's it. That's his character. He gets to be in episode 1 as the gay, episode 2 as the gay, and then he's dead. He's the first to die in this group of 6, mind you. Well, that's ignoring Lennon's death, but her kind of, she kickstarts the story. So the first to actually die by the slasher is Johnny. And this actually is one of the first issues. Not with them killing a gay guy. It actually mirrors the Scream TV series, season 1, I believe, where they kill an unimportant gay side character. There are actually several moments in this show that directly mirrors Scream's TV series. And it's like, wow, you couldn't think of anything else, huh? Okay. Seriously, there's the gay death, there's one of the side characters dying by industrial equipment looking for another character. There's this moment where the main group is trying to figure out who the killer is, and they have to go to this old creepy building that's connected to somebody else that they believe is the killer, but not actually. It's pretty damn close. I'm just saying. It could be coincidence, but I don't think so. Well, either way. Another problem is the slasher itself. See, after Johnny dies, it does not feel like a slasher kill. Now, what's the difference between a horror movie death and a slasher kill? Right? A slasher kill is when an enemy, it doesn't matter who, Michael, Jason, Freddy, whatever, is stalking you down and murders you, typically with a slasher weapon. In this case, with the Fisherman, it would be a hook or a harpoon gun, much like the 2025 movie. But the thing is, it's really not. Not in the show's case. Because the show actually doesn't have a Fisherman, which is wild. All the other installments have a Fisherman aside from the book. But the book is a thriller about keeping a secret, not a horror slasher. That's the difference. And this show clearly wants to take inspiration from the movies as well, and yet doesn't have a Fisherman, which is wild. It's like the core element of the damn series, and you don't have it at all. And when people start dying, approximately 1 per episode, they die kind of off-screen? Not entirely, mind you. Like, Johnny, right? He gets married to his coach, which is super weird and super illegal, but anyway. Neither of them last long in the show, which is why I'm not focusing on it too much. But the coach is seen choking on a barbell, and then a piece of metal flattens his skull, and he's dead. And Johnny, something attacks him off screen, and then he's dead. There's several other characters where they're attacked off screen, and then they're dead. And it's like, that doesn't feel like a slasher death. That feels like a horror movie death. And it's like, oh, but you're not supposed to know who it is. It's like, yeah. Why do you think slashers wear a mask, huh? Well, because it's iconic. But Jason has his hockey mask. Michael has his Captain Kirk mask. Freddy has a really burned face. But all of them have a mask, and most of the time, it's so you don't know who it is. In the Thanksgiving movie, it's the Pilgrim, right? Because you don't know who the Pilgrim is. In Scream, it's Ghostface. You don't know who it is. In President's Day, it's an Abraham Lincoln mask. Definitely one of the sillier mask choices, but still. Etc., etc. Most of the time, the point of a mask is to hide your identity. That's how it works. But in the show, there is no mask. There is no suit. There is no large raincoat and giant black hat that covers your face, like in the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. And I mean all of them. Because even I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, for as shitty as it is, they knew they had to keep the killer's face obscured until the end. But in the show, you never see the killer, period. That is not the point. It's supposed to be the fisherman, because the fisherman is the killer of the series. You don't just suddenly go, it's the off-camera. This isn't Friday the 13th Part 1, okay? That's not how we roll. Not now. The series has already established itself. You gotta roll with it. That's how it works. But that's one of many issues. See, after Johnny dies, Lennon goes to discover Dylan, who she sees is on a goat farm, and is like, oh man, he has a goat farm, which means he put the goat head in my room. Because, during the party night, they must have run over a goat, right? Because that's something they said. Even though, of course, they ran over the real Lennon, naturally. So with that very weak connection, it must be Dylan. And it's like, yep, you think it's Dylan and we're on, episode 2? No. Obviously, it's not Dylan, because you came to that conclusion way too fast, and we still have 6 more episodes to go. So, yeah, obviously not him. But don't worry, we have other red herrings to introduce. Because it could be the father, it could be Riley's mother, it could be the police chief, it could be anyone. But it's not. It's not. See, most of the show, which is why it leads to my other problem, actually, it feels like padding. This teen drama aspect of the show feels more like padding than fleshing out the characters. Because we kind of got the characters' deal in the first 2 episodes. We got them on the party night before the accident, then we got them a year later after the accident and how it's affected them. That's all we really needed. But instead, it tries to focus on Lennon's, keep in mind, fake Lennon's, relationship to Margot and to Dylan and to everyone else. And it's like, yeah, I don't really care because, well, Riley doesn't really get a lot of screen time and Johnny's dead in episode 2. So Riley really does take a back seat to the supposed love triangle that kind of sort of happens, which also doesn't really feel natural. See, Allison has a crush on Dylan. She says this to Lennon during their argument. Lennon, of course, has an obvious friends with benefits at the time type relationship with Margot. But after the 1-year skip and Allison becomes Lennon, she develops feelings for Margot as well. And it's really off, I guess, is the best way to put it. The relationship, I don't think, has time to build. Fake Lennon, she talks about how her and Margot, they have engaged in this relationship, in this best friendship, and how they're so connected now. But it doesn't feel like that. Not really. It's like, oh yeah, Lennon does go to Margot, and they do hang out, but they don't feel like best friends. It's not that they feel like strangers, but they don't feel like they have this deep connection that the show says they has. Same goes for Dylan, honestly. Because fake Lennon, she's like, oh, but I've always had a crush on you, Dylan. And it's like, but do you? It doesn't feel like that. Especially after Dylan just fucks off and goes to his goat farm. He just disappears from everyone and refuses to talk to anybody. So it feels really weird. And this triangular relationship kind of, it pushes Riley out of the story for quite a good chunk. Which is an issue because now you're ignoring one of your characters that's supposed to be super pivotal. So ultimately, Riley ends up dying later and you don't really feel much about it. It's like, oh no, not Riley. I got her to know her, like, kind of well, I guess. Wow. And her, like, bitch of a mother looks for her, who's also another character added to this story. There are so many goddamn characters to this show. It's too much. The movie worked, the first one, worked because it focused primarily on 4 characters. That was it. The show wanted to add 2 more. And fine, one of them dies in the beginning to kickstart the show. Fine, whatever. Another one dies to kickstart the threat. Okay, fine. Now you're down to 4 characters, but instead you very clearly want to focus on 3. So why did you add these other 2? Johnny didn't have to exist at all. The sister thing? That's fine. I like that. They could have had Allison and Lennon in the beginning with Margot and with Dylan. Right? And then after the argument happens, real Lennon dies and Allison becomes fake Lennon. And then you can spend all the screen time you want focusing on the relationship between fake Lennon, Dylan, and Margot. Instead of adding in Johnny, who adds absolutely nothing, and he dies, and that's it, and Riley, who takes a back seat to everything. She's like, oh yeah, I'm here. And it's like, yeah, not nearly as much to actually be cemented as a memorable character. So when she dies, it's not really a surprise. Although I do have to give points to Riley. See, after the gang tries to put the mystery together of who could be hunting them down, they go to this creepy old building, again mirroring the Scream TV series, where that crew, I believe in season 2, go to a creepy old warehouse to try and find clues to who the killer could possibly be. And together, they find a bunch of pictures to show as proof. Again, like Scream. And immediately after that, after the crew escapes, because they took so long that it became nighttime, and then they were being hunted down by something, Riley gets hunted down, and she ends up getting stabbed through the chest and losing an arm. But I have to give points to Riley. She really soldiered on. She crawled herself away, bleeding out, with one arm, mind you, crawling across the forest, all the way past the cops, because the cops, like, just barely missed her, of course. And she ends up getting so close to her house, and then she dies right there on the lawn. And it's like, damn, that's some points for soldiering on like that. That was pretty cool. And as all of this is going on, one of their suspects becomes Claire, yet another character added into the mix. Claire is this old cultist who used to run, well, a cult way back in the day. And this cult constantly gets referenced all the time. When somebody dies, they're like, oh, it must be the cult. When somebody goes missing, it must be the cult. And that leads me to the other issue. The cult. I hate the cult because it clearly wants to use the supernatural aspect that I'll always know introduced. But the thing is, that movie bombed. So I don't know why you'd want to borrow any supernatural aspect from that, but whatever. But the town constantly talks about this fucking cult. I don't like the cult at all, because it really provides nothing to the overall story. It just sounds like a scapegoat, and that's it. And it's like, you can really add that to anything, you know? Oh, it must be this, it must be that. In Pumpkinhead 3, there was this deformed child that fell down a well, and he became a demon. It's a thing. And people in town, they blamed him because he looked ugly, so he must have been a demon already. Or, again, in the Scream TV series, there's a deformed child, yeah, really, who dies, and they blame him because, oh, he must be attacking people, he must have returned. this show could have done exactly that. There could have been a scapegoat. There could have been an already established murderer. Hell, in the first My Bloody Valentine, there is this killer that they talk about, and he's like, oh, he dressed up as a miner 30 years ago and he killed everyone to get revenge for killing him because he was trapped in a mine and he was forced to eat his friends. And they could have done something like that, but instead they're like, no. We have this cult who worships honey or something. It's really, really vague, and not in the fun way either. It's not vague like Lovecraft, where you want to know more but you can't. It's vague in the way where there's all these rules and nobody's explaining anything. And it's so fucking stupid. And everyone constantly talks about this fucking cult. It's like, obviously it's not the cult. And if it is, that'd be dumb. It'd be dumb. Because this is a slasher series. A slasher series that does not have a supernatural aspect to it. I Know What You Did Last Summer in 1997. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, the 98 sequel. And I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 2025 movie, did not have supernatural aspects. And they succeeded, more or less, because they knew what they were and they stuck to it. This is why I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer failed. They added in this fucking ghost vengeful thing and nobody liked it because it was a fucking stupid twist. So adding in a cult to this rebrand of a show, it doesn't feel warranted. It doesn't feel earned whatsoever. It just feels tacked on. And the problems, they grow from there, right? The kids find Claire the cultist, and they're like, oh, it must be her because she's a cultist. And since the cult has super vague rules, she's probably the killer, I assume. So yeah, let's hunt her down. And it comes to a point where, after Riley dies, Dylan ends up finding Claire in this cave. The same cave where they ended up putting Lennon's body because, they didn't want her body to be found by the police, otherwise they'd get caught. Typical I Always Know What You Did Last Summer type shenanigans, of course. And in this cave, Dylan finds Claire. And then Claire disappears. And Dylan gets creepier from there. It gets unhinged really fast for like the last 2 episodes. See, all of their questions lead to, oh, it must be this and it must be that. At first, they're like, oh, it must be Allison. And then Allison washes up on the beach in like episode 4, and her very dead body gets sent to the morgue, and that's the end of that. And they're like, oh, it must be this person, but then this person shows up dead. Then it must be this person, etc., 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 until it gets to Claire. Until Dylan finds Claire in the cave. Claire, who has Riley's very dead body, mind you. And you just don't see what happens. At all. Next time you see Dylan, he goes from super virtuous Captain America to absolute flip of a switch. Oh, she's better now. I healed her. I helped her. And it's like, what are you talking about, man? And we, of course, come to the conclusion that Claire is dead and Dylan is the one that killed her. Now, this, of course, might lead you to think, okay, so 2 episodes left. It's probably Dylan at this rate, because now we only have the 3 main characters left. It's probably Dylan because he's rather suddenly acting weird and creepy. Or it could be fake Lennon, because Lennon, quite bluntly, she put Dylan to bed and then shared her secret with him, telling him that she was actually Allison. So, it could be Dylan, or it could be Allison at this rate, fake Lennon. And the only one who seems at least partly sane is Margot. Now I'm thinking, okay, we have 1-2 episodes left. Obviously, it has to be Lennon or Dylan, right? Because Dylan flipped, now he's crazy, I guess. Whatever. And Lennon, she's been keeping this secret for a long time, so maybe she's actually the killer. And to be honest, I would have been okay if that was the answer. You know? I would have been completely okay with that. Because if it was Lennon, it makes sense. She doesn't want anyone finding out her secret, so she's driven to literally kill our motives. Alright, makes sense. If it was Dylan, you know, you could twist a few things here and there. Where Dylan, like, finds out fake Lennon's secret and is like, oh, but none of them believe me, so I have to kill them. I have to make them believe me somehow. And I'll use the cult as like a cover or something. And I feel like that would have worked. Either of those decisions would have worked. I would have preferred if it was Lennon, because you do not get enough horror movies where the main character is actually the killer. I think there's one I can name. I think it's Hellraiser 5 or 6 or something, where the final girl of the first two movies returns, and she goes on this like vengeance-fueled spree, literally tracking the Cenobites to these targets to kill them, so her soul doesn't go to hell. And that was actually pretty cool. But, you know, not enough horror things do that, and I wish they did it more. It would be cool. But nevertheless, as the clock's counting down and the show comes closer to an end, who ends up being the killer, right? Obviously not Claire, because she died to Dylan. Not Lennon, because obviously she turns out to be actually dead. So, who's left? Is it the father? Is it the police commissioner? Is it this? Is it that? No. It's Margot. And it comes straight the fuck out of nowhere. See, as the show wraps up, Lennon finds out that her mother is actually still alive. And she, in a warped way, taunts her mother, saying that, hey, my sister's dead and you didn't even know about it. Which makes her mother come to this town, Maihana or something. It's a Hawaiian town, which I do give points. I actually do really like the Hawaiian town. It feels beachy, and it feels like a place that you could believe a fisherman-themed killer would be in. I do really like the town. It's really nice, and while it is different from Southport, it's not landlocked Colorado like in the 2006 movie. So, eesh. But after Lennon's mother returns, she gets kidnapped and killed by, as you soon discover, Margot. And Margot's whole reasoning is like, well, your mother was a bitch anyway. She was also a part of this cult, and so was your father. And it's like, what the fuck? Again, this cult storyline really feels forced. Like, what the hell are you talking about, lady? Hey. And then the final standoff happens. Well, I say final standoff, but it's not even that. You know, you're in the final episode. You're facing the killer. You finally find out who it is. Who, again, it comes out of fucking nowhere. It really does. Like, it could have been Dylan because he was acting creepy. It could have been Lennon because she was keeping a secret. But no, it's Margot. What? And it's like, oh, well, Margot... She's like, oh, well, when Johnny died, you didn't act like how I expected you to. And it's like, yeah, because people experience grief in different ways. That shouldn't be a shocker. What are you on? And then Margot's like, oh, but the year you were gone, you didn't use the emoji. It's like, what? She used emojis improperly? What? See, that does not feel like a twist. I mean, holy fuck, that is so forced. What? Oh my god, I have to laugh because it's so stupid. It is so stupid. I loved in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer how you could go back throughout the movie and you can pick these certain moments that happen and it's like, oh, okay, so this is how Will did it. It makes sense. It lines up, and Ben is his father. It makes sense. In the first movie, you can pick out things that happen. It's like, oh, well, there's David Egan, and he had a girlfriend, And that was the daughter of Ben Willis. You can pick it out. If you go through the show, there are zero, maybe at most one or two, but honestly, zero clues of Margot being the killer. It feels so out of left field. It might as well have been Cthulhu at this rate. It would have felt more justified, honestly. Jesus. But this isn't Lovecraft Country. This is I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it is stupid. This is one of those shows where the ending really does ruin it. Because, oh my god, I can't. Because this part especially pisses me off. After Margot stabs Lennon, right, and it's this final standoff, and Dylan comes in, and it's between the three of them. This should have been the moment where Dylan and Lennon, they team up to take out Margot, and everything wraps up in a neat little bow. That's how it should have ended. And it'd be like, yeah, it wasn't great, but it went the route I expected, and, that's fine. It's whatever. Instead, this is what happens. See, Dylan ends up calling the cops and getting them to this location where Margot and Lennon are having this standoff. And Lennon, who, keep in mind, has just been stabbed and is bleeding out, it is this pivotal moment where she has to choose between Margot or Dylan, right? Now, any sane person would be like, okay, obviously it's Margot. She just admitted to me that she's a psycho that killed all of our friends. No shit. But Lennon's like, no, I love you, Margot. And it's like, where the fuck have you gotten this shit? Oh, because you were the only one who was there for me. It's like, yeah, but Margot is still a psycho killer, okay? Still a psycho killer who murdered all of your friends. So what are you on? Oh my god. But instead, Lennon, she's like, nope, Dylan did it. Dylan, Mr. Virtuous, Mr. Captain America, Mr. Superman, he's the crazy killer. What? The actual fuck are you on? Oh, Jesus Christ. I have never been so enraged by a teen drama slasher show like this. Honestly. In most of them, it's like, okay, they team up, they take down the killer, end. Or even the killer wins, the end. That's how this works. And I'm not saying everything has to follow that, but there's making the right decision, and there's making the obviously wrong, I chose an actual psychotic killer decision. And it is so stupid, and that really tanked the show for me. Up to that point, I was enjoying myself fine. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest. But, it was passable. But with an ending like that, God, it was dumb as shit. And yeah, Dylan gets locked up. And it's like, wow, nice. We don't need any evidence whatsoever. It was obviously Dylan. Yeah, because his DNA's on the knife or something. It's like, yeah, okay, sure, I guess. Why not? That's stupid. Oh my god, I hated that. I hated it. I really did. And Margot and Lennon, they live happily ever after, I guess. And that's almost where it ends, except for this. See, I mentioned earlier Riley died, right? She got stabbed through the chest and lost one of her arms. And again, I gave her points for surviving as long as she did. Thing is, when Dylan was acting creepy and he killed Claire, he did something to Riley's body. What he did was encase her in honey and put her in the freezer of a morgue. I don't even know how he did that, but whatever. Now, up to this point, the supernatural aspect of the show has really been null and void. It's like, oh, there's a cult, and they do stuff. It's like, yeah, but we never actually see the cult, because all of them are dead, supposedly. and all the magic shit that they say they do, you never actually see. So it's like, okay, whatever. Thing is, at the end, Riley opens her eyes. And I'm sitting there like, how the hell did you survive all of that and come back to life? What the fuck are you on? Of course, then again, you could chalk it up to, oh, it's slasher logic, you know? I mean, Ben Willis, he lost a hand, and he survived. He managed to swim across to the Bahamas or something. So, you know, I guess if you stretch your imagination a little more, it's fine. But I still found it really stupid. It was really stupid. And what makes it worse, I looked it up. I looked up the honey scene. The creator wanted to be like, oh, the honey cult, and that's what I've been calling them, mind you. The cult in the show does not have a name at all. They never be called by anything. It's just the cult and the cultist. And the creator explains that the cult's honey was used to preserve bodies and to resurrect them into the next life. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, yeah, sure. I guess if you really wanted to attach yourself that badly to the 2006 movie, you know, the worst one in the series, at least now there's an explanation for it. Clearly, Ben Willis, he went to the fucking honey cult, and that's how he became a ghost zombie thing or whatever the fuck. It's like, yeah, sure. Whatever. It's horrible. And the worst part is it ends right there. That's it. That's where the show stops. And it pissed me off so much. It's like, firstly, you think you're getting a second season? Hell no, you're not. And secondly, you want to try to make this thing about, oh, well, all that the cult was doing was actually real. And it's like, no. You should have stuck to two things. The slasher and the teen drama. If you stuck to those two things, you would have been better. Not good, but better. But no, we have to add in this whole other element which only crowds the show's plot. And there's already enough plot. There's already enough there. Yay. And it just makes the whole thing annoying. That's it. And that's how the show ends. Having been canceled after 8 episodes because nobody wanted to fucking deal with it. A remake nobody asked for and nobody wanted. So, that's all. My gays, bays, theys, and strays.